RuneScape Facts you may not know. In your player-owned house dungeon, you can build a guard. Well, everyone knows this, it's a pretty weak start to the video. But have you ever noticed that the baby red dragon didn't get a UI update when the red dragon model got a rework back in August of 2006? The greater demon, which also received a rework at the same time, did have its UI updated. Hellhounds also received an update a year later. But the old baby red dragon graphic slipped by untouched. While we're talking about construction, let's mention the fact that RuneScape 3 hasn't updated their Rocknar model. It's exactly the same as it was when it was released into the game in May of 2006. That's nearly 20 years ago. Its head also clips through the floor of the player-owned house. Back to old school now, and we're in the wise old man's house uninvited. Serves him right. Having a snoop upstairs, we can see that he has a thing under his bed. Going downstairs and talking to the wise old man, we can offer to do things for him, and he will assign a random task, where you'll need to gather items or deliver items to random NPCs around RuneScape. Eventually, he will ask you to investigate the thing that's under his bed. But what is the thing under his bed? Well, in a behind the scenes from August of 2005, it's speculated that he may have Calphites under his bed. Given the model, however, I beg to disagree. Luckily, Modash cleared up the confusion in 2010, stating it's supposed to be a goblin. The idea was to have a goblin roaming around his bedroom, but that the graphics team thought that having it under his bed is funnier. Once he assigns you the task to investigate the thing under his bed, you'll have to put on your best gear and prepare for battle. Heading up the stairs and kicking the bed to initiate the fight, you'll have to deal a whopping 25 points of damage. Well, this was released in 2005, and the reward for granting the wise old man a good night's rest? A random amount of hit points XP, between 280 and 300. Here's a closer look at the model. While performing tasks, he may ask you to deliver a letter to Father Lawrence in Varrock. During this dialogue with Father Lawrence, you'll encounter some typos. No, I don't mean his drunk ramblings, more specifically in his reward dialogue. I'm totally sure this will be fixed soon. Now, despite the wise old man, or Dionysus, having a Greek name and being a follower of Saradomin, he can speak a bit of Latin, a trait more typically attributed to followers of Zaros. Heading back upstairs and rifling through his bookcases, we notice he has a little toy horsey, spelt differently from the toy horsey item. In the northeast room of the Abyssal Sire, you can use a scrying orb to peek into the Drill Sergeant random event. This allows us to see scenery we otherwise can't while inside the event. We can see that the barracks are fully furnished with beds and wardrobes. Flying around, we can examine some objects and see the humorous examine text. And yet another reference to horses. The gallows behind Draenor Manor hide a harrowing secret. There's actually a man hanging from them, and if you hang around long enough, you'll be able to see the man appear for a split second. People speculate that this man is called Guy, but it cannot be, as Guy lies nearby. Therefore, the only thing that we can know for sure is that it isn't Guy. Here's a better look at the model. Now let's rinse off with a bath, specifically a dwarf bath. Yes, despite never being released into the game, there exists within the game's cache a dwarven bath, complete with yellow ducky. I have to assume it was supposed to be placed somewhere nearby here, due to the surrounding object IDs being the dwarf canon. From dwarves to gnomes, and up this ladder near the grand tree, you can find this ornament, which you can examine or... examine? Yes, this has an Op1 examine option. Clicking that provides us with a nothing interesting happens message, and, as the dev name for this lock would have us believe, it was probably going to be used with the Eyes of Gluthry quest. But are there any other items with an Op1 examine option? Well, if you were to believe the wiki, you would assume that there's only 2. But there's actually 3. This gnome ornament, the healing certificates from Fairy Tale Part 2, and none. But what is none? Well, checking the lock ID, it's the... Wait, what? The Falador fireplace? There's no way. Well, yeah. As the Falador fireplace lock doesn't actually have a name, we can't right-click it to see the options. But wait a second. Op 2 is a warm by the fire option? Jagex, please give the fireplace a name so we can use these options. Searching the spice stall in Sophanum gives us a nothing interesting happens message. And using the trade option on the embalmer before finishing the contact quest gives us the same. Ali the Camelman references horses and donkeys, and Sammy the Camelman has a trade option, which does absolutely nothing. The sword shopkeeper in Varrock is missing an arm, and across the square to Horvik's shop, we find some horseshoes on the wall. A former Jagex moderator once created a horse hit sound effect, before giving up on creating horse sounds as it was too difficult. I wonder if that's the sole reason that they're not found in-game. A golf cart model is found in the game's cache, and given the IDs that come directly after it, we can only conclude that it belongs to the KGP in the iceberg. This long corridor reminds me of that scene from Austin Powers. Upstairs in Falador we find some graphical glitches, possibly introduced at the time of Rooftop Agility. I went into RuneScape 3 to see if it was the same there, but found out that they have slightly worse issues. If English isn't your first language, that is not a bunk bed. Continuing on the theme of graphical glitches, when the downstairs door is open, we can see the top glitching through to the second story. Also in Keldagrim, Professor Manglethorpe explains that he is sent by King to talk with the dwarfs, dialogue which has been since fixed in RuneScape 3. While on the topic of gnome bugs, here's one that you can experience today. Starting a game of Gnome Ball and teleporting out leaves your player still in the Gnome Ball state, giving you a pass option on other players. I tried something similar on RuneScape 3 and ended up not being able to equip weapons anymore. Oops. Serenity will paint you a portrait for 1,000 coins. Here I picked Eleanor, as the picture used in the Biohazard quest depicts her beautifully. I can't wait to hang this picture on my wall. Oh. Well, you get what you pay for, I guess. Eleanor is also pansexual, for some reason. The Makeover mage has a unique bed, and from a post bag from the hedge we find out their names. Pete or Peter, depending on their mood. We also discover their ability to change their appearance comes from their amulet, the yin-yang amulet, which, according to Wikipedia, when pertaining to human gender, yin is associated to more rounded feminine characteristics, and yang as sharp and masculine traits. Her hair also clips through her hat, which has annoyed me for years. The Painted One in Sleep and Joshua at Hemminster also wear a yin-yang amulet. Not to speculate or anything. While we're here in Hemminster, we can talk to the NPCs, and we see that their dialogue spells Grandpa Jack's name differently from the NPC. There's no wonder our player doesn't know who he is. Grandpa Jack's dialogue, however, refers to himself correctly. Well, this video is already getting pretty long, but I still have loads more facts, so I'll have to make a part 2. If you enjoy the video, hit the like button, and if you're new around here, hit the subscribe button to be notified when I upload next.